to you guys tonight. ATP. ATP stands for Assistive Technology Professional. Currently working with National Seating Mobility. I've been doing this since 1989. I know I don't look that old, but I'm older than I look. I enjoy this career. Started in Seattle. I've been in Indianapolis since 2012, and that's when I started my association with the ALS Clinic. National Seating Mobility currently is the only rehab provider of mobility that sits at the clinic. And so anybody that comes to the clinic, I tend to see, and we cover from our location, we cover the entire state. So my job in the group at the clinic, I go into with the big group. We got a psychiatrist, we got physical therapy, occupational therapy, we have a Pete who does bracing, and then you have myself. And so our primary function when we're in there is to learn about the folks and then discuss about their mobility. Our goal is to keep them independent and keep them safe in their mobility. That's our goal. Allowing them to have as much access to their home environment, how they're eating, how they're bathing, how they're toileting, how they're transferring from one surface to another, how they're getting from room to room. And so what we do is we work with them to come up with ideas as to how we can keep them doing those things as independently as possible, or how we can aid the care providers to be able to aid their loved ones and able to do those things. Might involve transfer benches and bathtubs, or making suggestions for special utensils and for plates and eating and things like that. Walkers, canes, crutches. We talked about hospital beds, all those kind of things. In the realm of what you see here in front of me, this power wheelchair. This is one example of many examples. A lot of people ask about mobility and why we do what we do as far as power wheelchairs. Most of the folks who come to ALS Clinic are Medicare. Most of them have Medicare. Some people have private insurance, but 89.9% of the time it's Medicare and private insurance. Medicare pays for these things. There's an allowable, they'll pay 80% of that allowable, and then their secondary insurance will usually pick up the remaining 20%. If you come into the clinic and you have VA, we usually encourage people to go to the VA, get registered at the VA for their services, and attend the VA. They have an ALS clinic over there as well, because the process for getting this type of equipment at the VA can be a little easier than getting it through straight Medicare. A little bit different process, but the end result is to make sure that people are getting the equipment they need to be independent in their mobility. Okay? So usually when somebody's at the ALS clinic and they get to the point to where they can no longer functionally use a walker or a cane or a manual wheelchair, then we talk about power wheelchairs. Medicare and even private insurances are following Medicare suit when it comes to documentation. And the box that the qualifying box continues to get smaller and smaller, meaning that Medicare has a very stringent criteria for who gets power wheelchairs. Don't believe the commercials you see on TV. Just because you have Medicare doesn't mean you automatically qualify for a scooter. It doesn't work that way. So usually it gets to the point to where we recognize, okay, we need to intervene. We talk about power mobility. Usually when we talk about power mobility, because ALS is a progressive diagnosis, we usually automatically will put on a chair. I'm going to move this down a little bit here. Usually we're going to do front wheel, mid wheel drive, or rear wheel drive bases. So there's 3 different types of power wheelchairs out there. This is what you call a mid wheel drive power base. So the power wheels are in the middle of the base. Then you have rear wheel drive power chairs where the wheels are in the back. And then you have front where the wheels are more up front. The mid-wheel drive power bases offers kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to maneuverability inside and outside, going over terrain, and just getting around in tight spaces. Rear-wheel drive power chairs really do well outside. It's very familiar. It's similar to driving a car, the way it turns, so it feels a little bit more normal. The problem inside homes with rear-wheel drive power wheelchairs is that they don't turn corners very well. So in-home access becomes difficult, and every house is built a little bit different. And so mid-wheel drive tends to be the way to go. Now, there is front-wheel drive power. That does okay outside as well, The problem with front-wheel drive, especially if you have a long straight hallway and then a tight turn to a bedroom, because of the way it turns, you have that kind of the junk in the trunk back here can swing away if it's a narrow hallway and hit the other side of the hallway. It does turn sharper, but you also have that swing that happens too. So one of the things is I come out to the person's home and I look at their home. I look at the individual. I measure the person. I measure the home. And then based on that, I try to come up with the right power base and then the right seating configuration for the person and the home. Medicare's primary focus is the person's ability to be able to independently get around their home with at least 80% unfettered access, meaning that it might be a bi-level home or something like that, but we try to put them on a level where the majority of their daily routine is taking place. If this only fit in the living room of a home, I shouldn't be leaving it because I'm really not doing a true service to the patient because Medicare does not have any concern with outside of the threshold of your home. So when it comes to ramps, vehicle access, things like that, Medicare doesn't help because their focus is inside. They don't take into consideration one's need to go to a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment or things like that. And so that's why we have to have at least so much percentage of movement around the home. So most chairs configured for ALS are going to have things like the ability to raise and lower the legs. They're going to have the ability to tilt back in space and then have the ability to recline as well. So when the person's in the chair, they can be in total control of the overall comfort. If they feel like they're tired and they need a rest, they can go, some people will sleep in these, and by doing that, you're eliminating the need for an additional transfer throughout the day, right? It'll get you room to room. The tires are flat free. The batteries are maintenance free. So the only real service to this is charging it and plug it in right here and charge it. As long as insurance provides a chair and pays for it, they're also going to cover all the service for it as well. So if ever you need a service, you're going to end up calling the provider. We come out and we'll search the warranty and any service work that it might be. Any questions about all of that I just kind of threw out there?
How long do the batteries last? I mean, is it 5 years? Is it?
Sure. That's a really good question. The batteries are warranted for 6 months. The normal battery life is 1 year to 2 years, but I've seen batteries last 4 to 5 years. It really comes down to how it's being cared for as far as charging. So on a full charge, this chair can go on a flat level surface with no hills about 15 to 18 miles. Okay? So if you're letting this thing go down, and if you have somebody who's watching the little battery gauge on here, and you're charging it when it just hits the red, and then charging it overnight, and then uncharging it, you're cycling the batteries more efficiently, and so you're going to get longer use out of it. If you're plugging this up every night, even though you're not using it as much as you should be, you're really breaking down those internal plates a little bit easier. Now, the chargers are smart, meaning that once the chair is fully charged, the charger will recognize it and it'll turn down to a trickle charge, but it's still pumping amps into the battery. It's still pulling on the batteries and wearing down the plates inside. So you can, like I said, I've seen batteries go 4 or 5 years, but that's because someone's very meticulous with how they're maintaining the batteries. But as long as you go over that 6 months, insurance again will come in and replace batteries. Okay.
Sorry, another related question. If you are out and about, say like you're on vacation, you're going out doing things. I mean, 15 to 18 miles is a long distance, but if there's ever a time you need to charge it remotely, like can you use a car charger, can you do anything quirky like that? If
you're going to be out and really on the go, I've never seen anybody, like if it's older batteries and you're worried they won't go the full day, just carry the charger with you, and you can plug it into any 3-prong outlet, household current. So if you're at a restaurant, you can ask to be put close to where there's a plug. You can charge it up, plug it in, and then, a good hour in a restaurant on this, you're going to get a nice little bump to it to get you down the road.
There's also resources available, not through the ALS Association, unfortunately, but through MDA, Muscular Dystrophy Association. They actually have a specific fund just for repairs, which we often refer for battery replacement. So that's something to keep in mind too, that there is resources for that more disposable part of the chair.
Any other questions about?
Do they make a chair that, like you can have accessories, say you wanted to read, or a table or something?
Sure. So let's talk about that. So this is a chair that's manufactured by Permobil. This is a company from Sweden, but they have a manufacturer and distributing plant in Nashville, Tennessee. So these chairs are actually built and assembled in Tennessee, not Sweden. That's where it was born at, though, as far as company. But it's just like Ford, Chevy, Honda, Permobil is a brand of a manufacturer. Then you have Invacare and Sunrise and Rovi. You have all these other manufacturers. They all, in order to sell this chair, it's coded like a drug. So any chair that has the same code by another manufacturer has to have the exact same features and benefits. Okay? So I always tell people, I'm not going to sit here and say one chair is better than the other. I think all these manufacturers, all my almost 3 decades, I like things about all of them. I wish I could take the best of each and make one Frankenstein wheelchair would be the best chair out there. But I don't believe that any of these chairs I would call the best. I think they all do certain things really well. I wish the others did it just as good, so on and so forth. But all of them have the ability, going back to your question, to do alternative drive control. So as ALS progresses, they may start out using their hand to drive, but if I have to go to a head array or a mouth joystick or a sip and puff or just a single switch scanner, all of the chairs have the ability to be able to change as someone's diagnosis should progress. So whether it's ALS or MS or Parkinson's, spinal muscle atrophy, all those things. When it comes to the secondary accessories, cell phone holders, cup holders, trays, all those kind of things, they all have the ability to have those things put on as well too. Those things, though, because they're not medically necessary, are out-of-pocket expenses. And those features can range anywhere from $5 to $100 depending on what you're trying to do. But there is the ability to put trays, cup holders, cell phone holders, tablet holders, all those kind of things on any of the chairs you see. I always tell people try to look online and get your best pricing, because when you buy from me, I'm buying from the manufacturer and just charging retail. And if you can find a similar like product that'll work on the chair, you're going to save yourself some money. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, let me make sure.
Sidetrack.
I know, since you're thinking about it. But, nowadays with the web, though, when I go into some folks' homes, hey, good, how you guys doing? I haven't seen you. Some people do their research, and they'll say, hey, so what sets these manufacturers apart is how the chair looks. The bases all look a little bit different. Some have more color, some have less color. So if someone says, hey, I really want the Permobil M300, I really like the way it looks, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a clinician, I have a problem with it, because I can only charge the same as for any other chair because it's coded. So it makes no difference to me as long as it'll work in the home. If it works in the home and that's what the person wants, I'm going to provide what they want. Yes, sir.
So, working in the home, how wide is it? Like 32 inches or
Yeah,
30
so the
inches?
base of this is about 25 inches wide from outside of wheel to outside of wheel. Depending on the person's body and how wide they are in the hips will determine how wide the outside of armrest to armrest is. So that may end up being wider than the base if someone's very wide in the hips, right? Because they have to accommodate their hips. So if someone's 20, 22 inches in the hips, then the outside of the arms might be a little bit wider than the chair. But if they're pear-shaped and they have wider hips, I can usually bring the armrest in on some chairs, and that's part of my work when I'm at the home, because not all chairs have the ability to do that. So if that's something I need to consider for home access, then that goes into my decision making as far as the type of chair and the seating that's going on. Never, if you're working with a dealer for any type of mobility piece of equipment for your home, make sure they come into your home before they start making decisions. It's very important. I've seen people where that's not done and something brought to the home and it doesn't work because no one came to the house to see that maybe the bedroom door is an odd door and it's only 25 inches wide or something like that. So always make sure, hey, you got to come to my home and look at it before you make a decision. That's very important. Very important.
Can you speak to that process a little bit about how somebody might start the process for getting a chair?
Mm-hmm. So again, going back to insurance, most insurance that we're dealing with in clinic is Medicare insurance. Then you got private insurance, and most private insurances are following Medicare rules. So most of the only one that's unique is if you're Medicaid only, and very few people come to the clinic are just Medicaid. So the process requires that you have a face-to-face visit with your doctor. So, for instance, if you're in clinic and you determine, I want to start the process for a power wheelchair, because you're there, we fulfill that need because we're going to do all that paperwork there face-to-face in the clinic. So you're going to be seen by the therapist, you're going to be seen by the doctor. So that starts that process. The next part of the process, step in the process, is we're going to make an appointment while you're there for me to come to your home. I'm going to come out to your home. I'm usually there for about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what all is going on. And I'm going to measure the doorways. I'm going to look at rampants to get that chair in and out, make recommendations there. And then I'm going to measure you, and then we're going to go over and talk about the benefits of the chair, talk about what kind of drive style we're going to do, front, rear-wheel drive. We're also going to determine how you're going to drive the chair. Is it going to be left hand, right hand, or are we going to automatically go to maybe a sip and puff or a head array, some other type of drive system because of where you are in it. The process usually takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days. Sometimes it'll go into 4 months. So I try to look down the road a little bit and say, here you are today, what might you look like in 60 days and 90 days so that the chair is going to be functional for you when it comes into your home. I went and saw a gentleman yesterday, and I set him up. I spec'd the chair out, and he's probably going to end up, he's losing his hands. He's pretty quick. So I'm probably going to, the joystick is free on the chair, so I'm probably going to get that, but I'm also going to go ahead and do the chin drive just so that if this isn't happening, he can go right to chin drive, which is really easy because it's just a small version of this, and I can adjust it in micrograms for resistance, so it doesn't take a lot of muscles to be able to do.
Can you explain a little bit about the chin drive?
Yeah, sure. Good answers. Good questions back there.
I'm just here to keep the party going, Terry. Just here.
So it used to be we used to do a lot of head arrays. The problem with head arrays and ALS is head arrays take a lot of neck muscles, and sometimes those can get really tight and it gets painful. So, you have to be able to do this and this and this and all this, and that can be difficult. So what I'd rather do is support the head in a nice plush headrest, and then I'll have a little micro joystick. It's probably no bigger than my thumb. It's got a little mini joystick that comes out of it that I'll adjust, and you can just kind of go like this with it or on your lip or like however. But the nice thing is you don't have to move your head. You can just be like I have right here. You can talk and just kind of go right there and move, and it takes micrograms of pressure to move, which isn't a lot. So there's a lot of people who've actually mastered the ability just to use their lip, drive the chair, and talk at the same time. I don't know how they do that, but they can because it takes such little effort, and you're not having to, we'll have you slightly tilted in space like this, so gravity's keeping your head back. That way you can relax and drive the chair and not have to work muscles and things like that. And usually what I tend to do with those are mounted, we call it a bib, but it's just a support that just kind of, this white aluminum that comes around the neck. That way if you hit a bump or something, if I mount it off the headrest and you hit a bump, your head moves, this doesn't move, it can be a little messy. This way if you hit a bump or if you're not in the right exact seating position, this will always be in the same place. So I tend to go with the bib. And then I'll have a little proximetry switch that I'll mount up here that you'll just kind of move over towards, and it senses your head, which allows you to get to the different modes to access tilt, recline, and so on and so forth. And nowadays, too, all the chairs come free with infrared technology, so I can program the chair for you to operate your cable box and your TV and stuff like that, too, so your wives or your husbands don't have all the control over those things while you're in the chair. So you can still fight about what you're watching. And then there's also the ability to put Bluetooth technology on the chairs, too. So like you said, if you want to have a tray in your laptop, you can control the mouse or on your computer or tablet to be able to access those things, although that box is a little bit of an out-of-pocket expense for that, but it is available. It is possible to do. So, as long as there's some movement on the body, I can do a single switch, I can do the head, I can keep you independent. As long as the person is willing to keep independent, I can get them to be independent. And sometimes because the process is long, I'm sure you guys know, as we've talked about it, we have the loan closet, right, which we house at our company. And so, you know, if you need a loaner power chair in that process or even before, I think we just got some in. You're going to see tomorrow. But I think we have 2 in there, but she keeps it a list, and we have loaners we can put out. It's not going to fit you perfectly. It might be a little too wide or a little too narrow, too shallow. So it's not going to be comfortable. I tell people, don't judge your experience because it wasn't made for you. But that is a nice service from the loan closet to be able to have those available to keep people going while they're going through the process. Any other questions on that?
If you start with the joystick.
Okay, someone else has to have it.
I like the spotlight, Terry. Don't you take that away. If you start with the joystick, can you later adjust to the
Did we
chair?
talk about that class? Did we talk about
Did
that
we?
earlier? Someone else want to answer her question?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, so I will review that again, yes. So all the chairs have the ability to go from either a joystick, we can move to a head array or a sip and puff or a chin, whatever. All of the chairs have the ability to be able to accommodate the progressive nature of ALS.
Say in a worst case scenario, the battery goes dead, is it a pushable chair?
Yep, so all the chairs have a brake release. This one has right here in front. So if I push this over here and do it, you can push it. It weighs 300 pounds. You have a body, you have 500 pounds. It's not going to push real easy, but you can push them, like if you're in a mall, out of the way, see if maybe a wire came loose, give us a call, find some way to get it home, including troubleshoot. I would say nowadays, though, I mean, back in the 80s and 90s when we were doing this, a lot of the chairs were chain drive and belt drive. And you had a lot more issues. Today's chairs are really reliable. As long as people are taking care of them, wiping them down occasionally, making sure they're not snagging wires on things. But they're so clean looking and so minimalistic looking, it's really, you know, unless someone's being deliberately abusive to it, they hold up really, really, really well. Although it's mechanical, it's man-made, so you never know. I mean, you know, I had a friend bought a brand new Mercedes 20 miles down the road and he's calling for service already, so go figure, you know. So it's man-made, so it's fallible.
Does Medicare typically pay for the entire machine?
Yeah.
Or do they just pay up to so much on certain machines?
So like on this chair, they'll pay for the chair, they'll pay for the seating system, power tilt, power recline, the legs. The only thing that they won't pay for is the seat elevator portion. All the other features serve a medical purpose. The reason they don't pay for the seat elevator is because they feel that's a convenience item, and it is. It doesn't serve you're not getting a medical, you know, benefit from it. And all these things are coded. All these things have an allowable assigned by the insurance companies. So they're going to pay 80% of that allowable. If you didn't have a secondary, then you'd be responsible for the remaining 20% of the allowable. But usually most people have a secondary and they pick that up. Even if you have Medicaid as a secondary, Medicaid will pick that up. So the chair could retail at $100,000, but if Medicare says they're only going to pay $10,000 and they're going to pay $8,000 of the 10, and then your secondary pick up the remaining 2.
So what is retail on that chair?
On a Permobile, the way you see it today with the seat lift and everything, this would retail for right around $26,000. Medicare will reimburse 15, maybe 16. This is not an industry to get in to get rich. I'm not rich. 27 years, not rich. So this is not that. So yeah, it's a crazy industry. Yeah.
All the chairs, would you would need a van or a trimmer on the back of the car?
Sure. Let me skip this up a little bit. So I'm going to pass this around real quick. So how am I going to do this? Let's do that. So this here, we have in Indianapolis, we have 2 divisions of our company. We have our rehab division, and we have our access division. I don't even know if Ashley knows this yet.
You didn't give me a handout or
That's
nothing.
because you're too busy talking. You're too busy thinking of trick questions. That's what you're doing. So,
It's okay, Ashley, you keep it.
I know, right? Keep me on my toes.
Thank you, thank you.
I'm going to also real quick. Here's my card. On my card is my cell phone, my email. Oh, I'm sorry. You ever have a question? A lot of people use me as a resource because I've been doing this so long. Even my competition will call me. And then the second card I'm going to give you is Jeff Tilford's card. He's the one who runs the access division of our company. So most insurance companies, including Medicare, do not cover things outside the home. So ramps, vehicle carriers, those kind of things. They also don't cover stair lifts. They also don't cover anything in your bathroom. Okay? So our access division, if you look at this big brochure here, our access division does all this kind of stuff. Ramps, vehicle carriers, lifts. Now, there's one that's not on here that's made by Braun that I want to talk about real quick because the power chairs weigh 300 to 380 pounds, right? So in order to carry that on the back of your vehicle, you need to have a Class 2 hitch. You need to have a pretty beefy vehicle. Something's got a V6 in it that's got a tongue weight of at least 400 pounds, okay? But Braun has come up with, and I don't have a picture. I really wish I did. I really wanted to show it, but I couldn't find it in the shop. But Braun has come up with a carrier that looks like this. So your chair will go on it, but it doesn't, when it goes, it can be towed by a Prius with a Class 1 hitch, because what it is when you plug it in, it's got two wheels and then this hook to it. It's not called a trailer. It's a wheelchair carrier, so you don't need to have a separate title for it. But by doing that, you can have a Prius and carry our chairs on it. It's about double the price. These run about $2,200. This runs about $4,000. But $4,000 is cheaper than having to go buy a minivan or a truck or an SUV if all you have right now is, say, a Chevy Malibu or a Honda Accord or something like that, because you now can carry that chair with this carrier behind your vehicle. That's made by Braun. I really want to show you. I'm fascinated by it.
That's the one that they call the Chariot.
Yeah, that's it. Is that it? I don't know what they call it. I'm educated. There you go. The Chariot. That makes sense. You've seen it with the two wheels, and it's really cool the way these wheels work, because when you back up, the wheels actually track the way your steering wheel. It's
caster wheel.
Yeah, but they track with it. They don't just go crazy. That's I'm probably one of the most innovative things I've seen in my. It's not even mobility related, but I'm amazed by it. And I think it's.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, because so many people are like, you know, it's not as big as it looks, actually. I mean, you know.
Is that pretty new?
It's been out. It came out earlier this year. Initially, when it came out, the licensing bureau was classifying it as a trailer, meaning that it had to have its own title, and that caused a problem because we don't sell cars. But then they re-looked at it and they realized, you know, this isn't a trailer; it's a wheelchair carrier, which is what it is. It's not a trailer. So therefore, it no longer needs a title. So now we can sell it. I think so far we've sold between 6 and a dozen of them so far. But yes, for these chairs, you're going to need either a van or an SUV that you can put a carrier on in order to get it away from the home. And that burden unfortunately rests on the patients and their loved ones. I usually recommend Superior Vehicle. They sometimes will, if you need a vehicle modification, they do things. Our company, Jeff at Access, we do some, if you turn to this page here, for instance, so these are called backpackers. So we can actually mount these like in the back of a big SUV, and they actually come out the back of the SUV, lower to the ground, you put your chair on it, lifts it up and sucks it back in. So we can do some light vehicle modifications, things like that. We'll do the boom lifts if somebody has a scooter, things like that. But if you're ever curious, you can call Jeff, give him the make and model number of your vehicle, and he'll kind of tell you what is possible and what's impossible on it. And we also do the different kind of ramps. You know, if you just need a temporary ramp for your home or something for a van to roll the chair up into the van, we do ramps as well. The little brochure I want to make a quick clarification on. So we do stair lifts and things as well, but this is a little bit of a mistake. See all this really great bathroom modifications? We used to do that. We don't do that. What we do in the bathroom is we'll do the ceiling lifts to take you into the bathroom, and we'll do electric bath lifts to get you down and in and out of the water, but we no longer do like giant bath mods and things like that. We can turn you on to some people who do that we trust, but we don't do that. But we do the vehicle lifts. We do the wheelchair lifts if you need an elevator. We do the ceiling lifts, overhead lifts, those kind of things. And that might even be something where it would be great in the future. Well, not great, but great. If, you know, now with them here, we have the ability if somebody does want to donate, for instance, an overhead like one of these here that you can break down and set up. It'd be great if someday we had one of those in the loan closet for some people who need that where a Hoyer lift just isn't good enough. Any questions about access? Because someone asked the question, I kind of jumped to it.
Do you guys, on the single pole ramps, do you guys carry those in stock or those have to be ordered?
Usually we have a certain amount in stock. You can call Jeff and ask if he needs to order you something, though. We can usually get it in pretty quick.
I tried ordering one and the ramp I bought isn't quite long.
And I would recommend before you guys buy ramps to come look first. Because, so ADA says, right, for every inch of rise, you want an inch of length, or 12 inches of length, which it can be long. I mean, we had somebody who had a 7-foot, they had a 7-foot deck, and we ended up having to put on, imagine, 80 feet of this in your yard. 80 feet of that in your yard. It was crazy because you had to go have a platform turn, but that's what it took, you know. So we can do, but the nice thing about this temporary ramping is it's more sturdy than wood. It doesn't rot, doesn't get slippery, and you have the rails and stuff like that.
Is that available for purchase, or do you guys lease that?
I think Jeff will rent it or purchase. Either one. And the VA, we do a lot of stuff with the VA on this stuff too, so we house all the VA access stuff as well.
You were talking about the bathroom now. Did you say that you do not do remodels on bathrooms?
No, not anymore. We used to, we don't anymore. But if you call Jeff, he'll turn you on to some reliable places that he trusts to be able to do that.
And why did you stop doing
Because when you're doing it through insurance companies and you're doing it through waivers and SACOs and other things like that, so if you do someone's whole bathroom, in order for us to be able to bill for reimbursement, you have to have them sign a piece of paper saying that the customer's happy with it. Well, so, you know, you did this great bathroom out, it looks great, but then when it's all done, they're like, oh, the ceiling fan's too loud. And then this, and then that, and they won't sign. It's just a very difficult thing, you know, it's remodel, you know, that tile doesn't look exactly like I thought it was going to look, but that's what you picked, you know, it became a money-losing venture, you know, and that's not our, you know, that's not our bread and butter. Our bread and butter is mobility and help people be independent with this access service, and that was becoming more of a construction.
So Jeff knows some people that,
he does, he absolutely does.
That will work with
Yep.
VA and things like that.
Yeah, he's been doing this about 30 years, so he's got, yeah, especially with the VA, absolutely. Because we used to do all the VA stuff.
Because we're finding that to be difficult.
Yes.
For us, for you know, people to come in and
Yeah. Now, the stair lifts and stuff, we have our own guys that do that. That kind of stuff we'll do. Any of that stuff we do, but Bathroom remods, installing the ceiling lifts, we'll do. Bathroom mods, hands off. Hands off. Any questions about access? Everybody understands that that's more of a private paid thing. But again, we also we want you to remember us as a resource. So just, even if you have a question for me or Jeff, feel free to ask. We don't expect you, okay, now you've actually buy it from us. We don't do that. We're a resource. We're here to help. Not hold information hostage because we want to use our service. That's not what it's about. Okay, so feel free to ask with any questions. Any questions? Okay. No more questions about access, vehicle carriers, things like that? Okay. What's this one or something? Oh, I left some literature on my desk. I am all set. Man. There's also other things we do in clinic. We do have some ALS patients who, everybody has a different journey with ALS. It affects everybody a little bit differently. And we do have, if someone they're still working, but they're losing the ability to walk, we don't just do power chairs. We've done manual wheelchairs with power assist on them. There's one-arm drive, manual wheelchairs. There's all kinds of things out there to keep somebody independent. It's just a fine line to walk because certain insurance companies will only do stuff so much down the road. So we're real careful with benefits, and that's why we tend to lean a little heavy on the ALS loan closet for loaners and stuff. So we're not using up benefits more than we should, save it for the big stuff. So there's as little harm on your guys' pocketbook as possible. So.
Can you give an example of that?
No.
Please, just one. Like, what is something that would be preferable through the loan closet to save?
Yeah, so, for instance, I said a few minutes ago, anything in the bathroom, most insurance companies want help with. So if we have a transfer bench or a bath chair, a raised toilet seat, a bedside commode, a Hoyer lift, those kind of things, if we have them, use it. It's like the library. Check it out. Use it for as long as you need. When you're done, we'll come pick it up. Even something as simple as a hospital bed. Most insurance companies will pay for a hospital bed. But if you need something really quick and if there's an issue with the insurance, then sometimes we'll have hospital beds. Now, if we don't have it, we usually call up and let you know, and then we'll try to access benefits for it if it's possible, like for a hospital bed. But the ALS Loan Closet is a great resource for some of the, even rollators like he's sitting in. Although this rollator he's in is one of the best out there, if everybody can go buy one of those, that is a really
Set that bar
great
high.
rollator. It's by Drive Medical. Nice big wheels, but even rollators. We got rollators, canes, walkers, all those kind of things. Always check. We always tell people, if you need something, check the loan closet first. If we don't have it, then let's go in whatever direction you need to. But it's a great resource to be able to have. And if we drop it off, we bring out a transfer bench, and you try to like, I don't like this. No harm, no foul. Call us up. We'll come pick it back up. It's not a problem. We'll make Ashley do it.
I've done it before.
Did I answer your question?
Yep, that's a great.
She's the only one asking questions. You're lucky I'm not giving out prizes.
That's what she's expecting.
Right? I'll
There's
take the cookies
out
outside,
there.
yeah. Same.
That's really, you guys have been so quiet. I thought I'd go for 5 more minutes and then give 15 minutes for questions and answers. But, you guys have any questions?
Is each chair custom fit
Yes.
for the person?
Each chair is going to be made based on the person's physical dimensions. It's just a matter of picking the right seating systems and the right base based on the need and the home need as well. And that's where the art of it kind of comes into. That's why I always tell people, once you've signed for a chair that's in your home, it's too late at that point to call me up and say, Terry, I got a chair that doesn't fit my home health. Somebody's already billed your insurance. Somebody, they're not, insurance isn't going to provide you a second one because it was a poor fitting. Obviously, you can go to the insurance and fight and say there was fraud taking place, no one measured in my home, but that's not going to help you today. So that's why I always tell people, just make sure someone's coming to your home. It's just like air conditioning. They come to your home and measure your home for the right BTU air conditioning to make sure it's big enough. Same thing with this. This has to fit your home. They're not all the same. I mean, and some companies, I'm not trying to be mean here, but I just ran into a lady. The family was in a pinch. They had this much money to spend. They called the company up. The company sold them a power wheelchair, took it out to their mom after paying a nice chunk of money for it, and it was already used, and they knew that. But the chair is 5 inches too wide here for the mom, so the mom just fishes around in it. Now there's, and it doesn't fit the home because it's too big. So, not all power chairs are created equal. They're all modern. The only ones that you can't change are the ones you see on TV, the old scooter store commercials. It is what you is. What you bought is what it is. You can't make it wider, bigger, smaller. But all these Group 3 power wheelchairs, they're all custom.
Talk about mobility. I saw something kind of cool a few months ago. I think it's this vehicle lift, about the same thing. The guy had a SUV, and it was a Chevy Tahoe, and just opened up the back, and the chair came out on this lift, on this arm,
And lower
set it down,
yeah.
and hooked it, closed it back up, and he was ready to go. So that's something that, you don't need a van or
Right.
or something that you put on your hitch.
Right. And that, too, depends on the type of chair, right? So the backpackers like that work great for certain lower class Group 3 power chairs, Group 2 chairs. But something like this, for instance, you couldn't do that. You need a carrier for something like this.
You only have so much space, height, is that it?
Well, that and the weight, the backpackers are limited. But see, the VA is a little different, unique, where the VA is willing to give you a lower class power wheelchair for a certain amount of time until you qualify for something else. They have like their own library, chairs back there that some are new, some are used, that they kind of swap out. So there are times where somebody in the VA may have a lower class chair, because that's all they need with ALS right now, and the VA will even help with some of the vehicle mods you're talking about to get a backpack or a boom lift or something like that to be able to get it out of the vehicle.
Do those trailer hitch carriers, will they work for that too, or?
The big one?
They use
Yes.
The cherry one.
Yeah, the cherry, it'll work. The only one it won't work with, I think, is one of the large permobiles, because that is limited to 300 or 250 pounds. And there's a couple of these big chairs that will get up to almost 299 pounds on somebody. But yeah, it'll work with the majority of them. You bet.
Are the controls and stuff waterproof, or do you need to cover that and have it outside?
The controls are water resistant, meaning that if I'm in the rain driving and it starts raining, I'm not going to short circuit my one at seat shelter. I always tell people to carry like a Walmart bag with them that you can put over your hand and the controller. You don't want to saturate the drive controls, because eventually you will get water down in between the buttons and stuff like that. So, yeah, no singing in the rain. Power wheelchairs.
You have to worry about dust coming out from the vehicle on the components.
No, you don't have to worry about that. Although I do tell people, like with any vehicle, once a month, just wipe it down, keeping it clean, let not stuff build up on it. If you're carrying it on one of the lifts on the back of the chairs, they do make power wheelchair covers that are very expensive. I usually tell people just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy the largest gas grill cover, because those are waterproof, water resistant. Throw it over it, use some bungee cords. About $40 compared to $250. So you're going to get the same thing. It's just not going to be custom fit, But you'll get the protection from the inclement weather. Yeah.
Balloon Closet. By
Yes.
chance, would their website be ballooncloset.com or what?
Actually,
The
has not
website
got
is
around to building a website yet that accurately tracks all of that.
We need business cards, but
There's actually not a website for the Loan Closet where you can see what's in it. The inventory in the Loan Closet is interesting because, as Ashley's going to see tomorrow, we have some stuff that's been there forever, and truthfully, nobody will ever probably ask for it. And so we've been really trying to go through it and try to make better use of the space and have stuff that's really needed. Majority of the time, we're going to have the common things like walkers and canes, bath chairs, transfer benches, manual wheelchairs, transport chairs, rollators. usually we'll have those in there. Once in a while, we have a run on the closet, and it gets a little low, and Ashley starts to put together a backlog, a waiting list, we call it.
I always tell folks, if you're interested, let me know, and I can communicate with you about what it is, put you on a wait list, talk with you about it. It really flows. So we are supported by donations as well. So as awesome as it is, it really is dependent on folks when they're not using it anymore, getting it back to us, or folks outside donating it as well.
And the foundation is really good. If we're got a big weight backlog of rollators, the foundation's been really good about saying, hey, Terry, let's just order some brand new rollators and stock the closet, so that people aren't waiting. So the foundation's real good. And let me just go back up. So the way that process works is I now see what you're asking, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if you come to clinic and you need a hospital bed, the way it works is I put the request in, I send a copy of the request to Ashley, to our person at our store that kind of helps to put the request out and monitors the inventory, and also goes to Angie Michaels, who helps at the clinic. So a lot of people realize that a request has been made on their behalf. And so people can know that Terry did his job and put a request in and he was asked to. That request goes to Ashley. Ashley formally approves the request. She then sends another request to Aaron Birch at my office. At that point, we check the closet, see if we have it. Ashley has an inventory list, but it can be a little sketchy depending on what's going on. But we double check the inventory list. If we don't have it there, we let her know. You'll get a call saying, you have this request. It's on, it's a waiting list. Are you interested in waiting, or do you want to go buy one? Do you want us to go through your insurance? Then we'll attack that avenue that way.
But you can, outside of clinic, you can also just reach out to me directly.
Yeah, you can call Ashley, or you can call me.
I'll give you Terry's home number.
Yeah, you got it, actually. That's pretty much my home number.
So like we're in between clinic visits, because I know my mom is in the clinic once every 3 months.
Mhm.
Go, hey, we really decided the bath chair would be nice. Who do I reach out to?
You don't have to wait for a clinic. So you can email me, call me, or Ashley,
Okay.
and say, hey, Terry, all I need really is your mom's first and last name.
Right.
That's really all I need. My mom, Montgomery Ward, would like a transfer bench. I'll take the name, send it to Ashley, and attach the other folks, and that's how we start the process to get you. You don't have to wait for your next clinic visit. Because a lot of people will throw this stuff out and they're not sure if they want to move forward,
Right.
and they might call us from home or call Ashley. Want to do it later on.
The process starts at the clinic, right?
For the loan closet,
Well, anything, for
Like ordering
a power wheelchair. Now, that's a good question. So if you come to clinic and you're like right there, and we suggest that this might be the time to start this process, some people are like, I'm not sure I'm ready for that, so they'll wait. You can call me anytime and say, hey, Terry, we're ready. Can you come out and measure our home? I'll come out to your home, make an appointment, measure it, and then we'll see if we can get you in the clinic sooner rather than wait till your next clinic appointment so we can start the paperwork process. So again, you don't have to wait for your next clinic appointment to start any of the processes. You could even call up Ashley and say, hey, Ashley, I lost Terry's phone number. Can you call him up and I can have him come out and talk about power wheelchairs? She'll send me an email. I'll call you up, set up an appointment to come out to the home, start the home assessment and stuff.
So our next clinic is next Tuesday.
So if this is something you're thinking about, just let us know. We'll start the paperwork right there. Set an appointment to get out to your house. You bet.
You come,
I was going to say, what's your service area?
now you come to Seymour.
From Illinois to Ohio to Kentucky, the whole state of Indiana. And we even had people come to the clinic who are venturing home from Illinois. Some people are venturing home from Louisville, even Ohio, the entire state.
How do you get signed up for the clinic?
That's Ashley.
So the neurology, you can talk to me, but it'll all go through Angie Michaels at the clinic, and I can get you her contact number as well. But basically, they would just fax over the documentation to her, and she would.
Who would fax over the documentation?
Anybody that's given, like a neurologist or somebody that's given a diagnosis, would fax over that medical record to Angie, and I can help you navigate that.
And is there what's the time period from the time you get the documentation from the doctor until you get into the clinic?
That's a good question.
So we have a clinic every Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of how fast the information gets to Angie. Angie will usually reaches out to you folks directly to ask you a couple questions, and then she sets the appointments herself.
Yeah.
So you'll get a call from Angie to schedule in. And usually, I don't know how far we fill the clinic up, but usually we have the capacity to see 10 to 12.
We're floating around 12.
Yeah,
consistently.
So, and you're there
Usually
all,
a couple
you're
weeks.
either there all morning or afternoon. Most of you know who you're there. It's usually a 2.5, 3-hour process. Because sometimes longer if it's your first appointment. But the nice thing about the clinic is it's multidisciplinary. So you're seeing everybody. You're seeing OT, PT, you're seeing physiatry, neurology, speech, dietary, social. You're seeing the whole gambit of all the needs, all the questions you need answers for.
You stay in one room and they all come to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bouncing around.
And they provide
It's good to know.
snacks and soda and coffee, so you leave there with a caffeine high, sugar pump, and you're ready.
It's a long day, but it's 10 visits that are in one place instead of 10
Yeah.
different visits over the course of a couple of months. So
Yeah.
I can speak more with you about that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any questions you have for Ashley and I not related to this?
I always like beauty tips. No?
You have one of them go 10 mile an hour?
There are chairs that go 10 miles an hour. They're just not covered by insurance. Absolutely. We've got a
Feel the wind in
gentleman.
your hair, huh?
We've got a gentleman who comes to ALS clinic, a super nice guy, and he's probably spent almost $60,000 out of his own pocket to get the chairs he wants.
No.
That's what my wife would say. But he's an avid outdoorsman, so he wanted a 4x4 power wheelchair that he can go pick out to the cabin.
We got a guy in North now, he's got the one with tracks on.
Yeah, and we have someone, yeah, so. Hey, no. But, yeah, I mean, what's the old saying, if you got the money, there's always something out there to spend it on. This industry is no different. There's a lot of stuff that's not covered by insurance that's really amazing. It's just not, and that's why it's so expensive, because it's just not sold on a high volume basis. So all these Trax units, 4x4 units are and the repair costs are out of pocket as well. So, it can get expensive. But, yeah. I myself can't imagine spending that much money on a chair, but I work in the industry, so.
Well, you're not a curator either.
That's true. That's true. I think the most expensive power chair, single expense I've ever sold somebody was almost $54,000 for one power chair. It was pretty.
Someday you'll be able to just get a chip. Pop in.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yes, ma'am.
At the moment, my mom has a scooter. She doesn't have an exterior lift for her vehicle.
Uh-huh.
If she ends up getting an exterior lift that would work for the scooter, eventually she's going to need the wheelchair. Is it easy to find the lift that'll work for both?
If you know she's going to go to a wheelchair in the future, you're going to make sure the car, it's easier for that lift to carry your scooter. You can't go from a scooter geared lift and think it's going to carry the power chair, because scooter lifts are geared to carry 25, 60 pounds, where the power chair lifts are going to try to carry 200 to 300 pounds. So if you know that's the future, you need to make sure your vehicle is set up to hold the right lift, and that the lift is going to be able to carry this in the future.
It's going to be called
Terry or Jeff?
Terry. You're Terry, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. And again, keep that chariot in mind, because, again, I know $4,000 sounds like a lot of money, but that's cheaper than buying a new car if you don't have to. And if you place that right after the fact, you don't need it on certain websites, you'll probably get a good portion of your money back, possibly, because it is so new right now. Any other questions?
All of these chairs are equipped to add on oxygen.
Yep, we can carry
suction, and
the trilogy units, we can carry the backpack vents, we can carry liquid or concentrator style oxygen. We can put personal need bags on it if we need to have urine bags and stuff like that. We can do all that kind of stuff. All those ancillary things they all have the ability to do. You bet.
You end up with the trailer hitch carrier, and my dad's having problems getting in and out of the car now. They've got a Grand Cherokee, so it's up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I know that using the chairs that go in and out of the car.
Yeah,
Is it?
turning seats.
Yeah.
We do
What
those
are the
too.
options?
We do those too. It varies from vehicle to vehicle. Those are about $3,000 to $5,000, depending on the vehicle. But that's something that Jeff does too, where usually they'll drive up to that seat, they'll come out, they get onto it, puts them up into the vehicle, and somebody will load the chair for them.
Is there a resale market on those, or?
Jeff would be a better one to ask that. Yeah. But again, those mods are still cheaper than buying. I mean, a converted van can run $75,000 to $100,000, which is big money compared to 5 or 10 to make your current vehicle work if it's possible. And those turning seats can be taken out, the old seat put back in, all that kind of stuff. So it's possible to put it back to original.
And to clarify separately, and National Senior Mobility does the insurance footwork eligibility,
For
like wheelchair orders.
yeah, we do if it can go through insurance, we handle all of that documentation. So if you come to the clinic, like I say, all the paperwork's handled there. All your visits are done that are required for most insurance companies. I just got to do my home visit to make sure we're doing the right thing in the home by the patient. So usually the one visit settles all of that documentation. Any other questions? Well, I thank you for allowing me to come and visit with you guys tonight. And again, you don't have to wait for a clinic. If you have any questions, problems, you want to pick my brain or Jeff's brain about access, just call us anytime. Leave a voicemail if I don't answer, or you can text me too. Just let me know in the text, hey, this is Mr. So-and-so, so I know who you are. Some people say, hey, Terry, can you go? I'm like, who is? So, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Terry.